So I wanted to come on and talk to you guys before I ever even get to the Master of Masters video. I haven't even begun to work on it. But this is going to be a side chapter video to that video, so it's like a prerequisite. It's just one that I felt like probably needed to be separated just so I can talk about it more in full. No script, just wanted to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I am going to try and keep it concise. I feel like this scene deserves that level of justice. So the gathering, dude, a scene that has been within the Kingdom Hearts series since Kingdom Hearts 2, I think Final Mix. When it ends, it says, it all began with birth by sleep. Okay, it all began with birth by sleep, but when we go to the birth by sleep secret cutscene itself, we realize that the scene for birth by sleep is completely different. The characters, Terra, Ventus, and Aqua, aren't even holding, at the very least, the same keyblades they're holding in the gathering. It's not the same scene. Who's walking up to them is not Xehanort, it's the Master of Masters, or Lushu. The person is clearly in the Black Hood. If we know that Master Xehanort already had his design, then the Shadow would be replicating his design. But we see that the Shadow is obviously wearing a black hood. Just look at the openness of the bottom of the coat. The bottom of the coat is the only thing that's swaying. You can clearly see that this is a Black Hood character walking up to these three individuals. But I can even potentially prove this with what we know now. See, in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Movie, we saw that the Master of Masters appeared within Quadratum. This is important in it that in Toy Box, Rex mentions specifically Bahamut. He mentions Bahamut. So Bahamut is in Verum Rex, this unreality world that Sora is connected to, and thus the Master of Masters will reappear within, since his eye and his memories via the Book of Prophecies, wherever it is or where it resides, and his eye, the medium, is within the current time. So with Sora being in Quadratum or in unreality, and the Book of Prophecies being within our reality, it's being searched for by Maleficent. His memories and a medium for him to return and just simply exist within this time. In Quadratum, that process has been fulfilled. Destiny has finally reached the point where he can jump to a world that he couldn't even conceive. But the importance of Rex mentioning Bahamut, it wasn't for nothing. Terra in the Gathering is standing on Bahamut. And we see something else that's interesting before we can even get to the point to where they pick up the keys, the fallen keys of Sora, Riku, and Mickey. We see that not only is Terra standing on Bahamut, but these three characters, Terra, Ventus, and Aqua, are holding their evolution keyblades of their original keyblades. So let's go back to Birth by Sleep. In Birth by Sleep, they aren't holding these keyblades. It's not the same scene. They're not leading into each other. It's not a prerequisite to Birth by Sleep. That's why the gathering ends with, it all started with Birth by Sleep. Now, in my latest video talking about Scold, I talked about how Aqua learned certain details after becoming a master from Master Ericus that we didn't get too much insight into. We only learned two things thus far, and one of them we waited almost 10 years for. The one that came first was that Aqua learned how to transform the Land of Departure into Castle Oblivion. The second is that Aqua was apparently made aware of information that is potentially held by the royal family. Information about the lights of the past, which she mentions deliberately and I think purposefully before Ventus, the character from the past himself. This is what is understood or called the Keyblade's truth. That's what's being discussed in the scene of the gathering. If you look at the words that's being said, the first thing it tells us, besides the very first thing, the next thing it tells us is about the Keyblade bearer, or the key bearer, and the Keyblade has magnificent power. The key it tells us the legend and prophecy of the Keyblade. The prophecy, which is mentioned in Kingdom Hearts 1, that it is a prophecy, however, it's said here in Kingdom Hearts 2 that it's also a legend. The key bearer brought ruin to the world, or another version of this is that he created the world. He led the world to prosperity, or he destroyed the world. This is something that's coming in the future and yet exists within the past. The Master of Masters destroyed the world, and Sora is going to be the one that saves the world. The key bearer is not a keyblade wielder. It is the key blade, the X blade. I think at this point, Nomura just didn't want to reveal the X blade to us. He didn't want us to know about the X blade because it was going to hold significance in Birth by Sleep, and then it would pivot how the series is functioning, because you need the Keyblade to use the powers of Kingdom Hearts to open the door to Kingdom Hearts. The Keyblade is the only thing that can close the door to Kingdom Hearts. So the Keyblade and its importance is something that I think Nomura was trying to hide at this point. He didn't want us to know about the legendary weapon yet, and that's why it said a Keyblade. Also, another thing too about this scene, The Gathering, is that we see the Ansem reports, not from Kingdom Hearts 2, in which they're called the secret Ansem reports. We see the Ansem reports, the reports of Xehanort, a man who is working to find this Ancient Keyblade Legacy himself. So when people say his character fucking changed, this is the knowledge that he fucking seeks. He seeks the Ancient Keyblade Legacy, although he goes on to know that he won't defeat Sora, since of course he uses the time portal, or he becomes the time portal himself. Since he cannot see beyond the point of dream drop distance, he knows that his defeat is imminent. He knows it's imminent. That's why the characters begin to lead Sora, Riku, Mickey, and the rest of the gang to the future. He leads them to their destiny. This is the importance of Xehanort giving Sora the Keyblade. He gives him the Keyblade for this event, what is coming. Xehanort literally met the Master of Masters. He calls himself a lost master. Young Xehanort brings up to Ericus at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 the Lost Masters. This is something that he already knows. He knows that all of this exists. Remember, oh my god, dude. In Dark Road, he leaves to go out into the world and find information that he seeks. This clearly is coming from where Dark Road begins. The memories of his past life. This is where the fear comes in at. This is the fear. The fear is these characters, apparently, from his understanding, are on the cusp of returning. He just isn't aware that he will be the way that they will return. He is their linchpin to making it to this reality. The characters that he feared, the 5 that beat him nearly to death in one version of his life before Union Chi and Key, the characters that beat him nearly to death, the Foretellers, are on the cusp of returning. He seeks the Keyblade, the Keyblade, and thus Kingdom Hearts' power to stop this from occurring. And if he does so seek the Keyblade for that reason, which it very clearly seems like that's the case, then what he's doing is trying to wipe the slate clean to keep them from coming back. But he doesn't know he is their ticket back. That's the point of why Luxu was told by the Master of Masters to follow and ensure that the Dark Seeker reaches Kingdom Hearts. This is what he's been following Xehanort for. And notice, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, and thus the epilogue, which was out of context at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 in its original form, as Kingdom Hearts 3 became Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, we saw that Luxu is given a mere copy of the no-name Keyblade. So Xehanort, who plans for every eventuality, he says it himself, he plans for every eventuality, already came up with a way of at the very least, circumventing their road to just straight power, because we saw that the no-name Keyblade, or the Gazing Eye, and thus the Master of Masters, has a connection to Kingdom Hearts itself when the creation of the X-Blade happens, and we see that his eye becomes the key symbol. The Keyblade becoming the Keyblade, the no-name Keyblade, becoming the Chi-Blade or the X-Blade. I don't think that it's not coincidence. There's no coincidences in Kingdom Hearts. That's been a running thing throughout the entire series. It's not a coincidence that his eye becomes the key blade, becomes the key symbol, not the key blade. His eye becomes the key symbol. That's indicative of a connection between the Master of Masters and Kingdom Hearts itself. When you think about it, and let me take you to something that I know a lot of people are gonna try and deny it, but I have to say this: the 20th anniversary logo, yes, the logo, is showing us already that the Master of Masters is connected to Kingdom Hearts. We see in the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 3, he forms his hand in a heart and places it up to the moon, the closest thing in design or the closest thing in appearance to Kingdom Hearts, which looks like a moon shaped like a heart. He shapes a heart with his hand and then places it up to the moon within unreality. This means his desires are on Kingdom Hearts. The 20th anniversary logo is specifically made in the likeness of two versions of Kingdom Hearts. There's one that apparently belongs to Sora, the new wielder of the X-Blade, and then there's one that's being created. That means that there's one that hasn't been formed yet. And think about, of course, the Keyblade's design, the X-Blade's design. It's two Kingdom Keys, not a Kingdom Key and a Kingdom Key D. It's a Kingdom Key and a Kingdom Key that come together in the form of an X. The Master of Masters' eye forms the key symbol. He's a wielder. Oh my god, dude. The reason why there's still the Keyblade on the 20th anniversary logo isn't just because it's making a 20. It is because it's telling us that the Master of Masters is actually a wielder of the exact same weapon as Sora, the Keyblade. The Keyblade, the original one. If you go to Kingdom Hearts 0.2 at the very beginning, it shows us something important, and that's indicative of this very thing. The Gazing Eye is not a Keyblade in which it exists as it actually is. It has a keychain that has the Master of Masters' eye in it. That's how it becomes the Gazing Eye. His real eye isn't the big massive fucking eye. It's the keychain that houses his eye. This is why in 0.2, the Master's keychain, or the no-name Keyblade's keychain, is shown to be something of importance. And then it shifts back to the eye that's at the bottom of the Keyblade, or at the top of the Keyblade, whichever one you want to say. At the top or the bottom of the Keyblade. It's because it's showing us that his eye is actually within the keychain itself. This is a Kingdom Key with a keychain on it. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, again, just like the Alpha video, man. I mean, I can only bring the information to you. Hey, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, niggas. But that's just a little short video I wanted to bring out about the gathering. The person in the gathering scene that we cannot see is obviously not Xehanort. The designs or the look of the character doesn't even match, but you can clearly see the character's clothes and his design. Rex mentions Bahamut in the toy box. Terra is standing on Bahamut. Bahamut comes from unreality and Verum Rex. If he comes from unreality and Verum Rex in this world, that would mean that the Master of Masters may come into this world and already understand these powers. We even see Yozora use summons when he summons Gigas. So summons is something that exists within their version of reality. And then we know it's Bahamut, or it's some sort of summon, or the nature of what Rex mentions when he mentions Bahamut is something that's already shown within the gathering, because Bahamut, or whatever this is, which is clearly Bahamut, disappears the same way that summons disappear within the Final Fantasy series. it's all leading back. What it means by it all started with Birth by Sleep is that these characters, much like Namine said in Recoded, are connected to the Keyblade's truth. Exactly what I mentioned in my latest video. But let me know what you guys think. Again, this is just a prerequisite video to the Master of Masters video. This is something that needed to be talked about more in depth on its own, because the Master of Masters video would have been like hours long, and I refuse to do it again. I refuse to do it again, man. That motherfucking hour-long shit took me like a month to fucking do. But thank you guys for tuning into this video. I hope it got you guys thinking about the future of the series. The Gathering is not a scene based on Master Xehanort. You can clearly see it. You can clearly see that this person is wearing the black coat. But hey, and it's clear also that they're not the same scene when you just simply look at the Keyblades. When you look at how Mickey, Riku, and Sora's Keyblades are all here. Everything about this scene says it's something like a futures past situation in which the characters from the BBS trio leave in their armors when they go to the realm of darkness at the end of Remine. We know that the armors aren't necessarily needed because Aqua spent 10 years in the realm of darkness without her armor. I mean, it's whatever you feel is right. May your hearts be your guiding keys, nigga. I'm trying to tell y'all. But don't forget to do a little A-class giving it. Everything you do, don't forget to give it A-class. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace the heck